Hello po, ma'am.
Okay, I can hear you now. Hello, Sir
Okay.
Adolfo. Okay.
Let us pray. Ama naming makapangyarihan, tagapaglikha ng langit. Maraming salamat sa mga biyayang natanggap namin ngayon at sa mga sunod na nagbayan po kami sa aming review sa gabay ng aming coach na si Mama Ana, sa kanyang staff na si Ma'am Jen. Inihiling namin sa iyo at kay Kristo kasama ng Espiritu Santo na sa gabay kaming lahat na makakuha at pumasa ng board exam para sa ikabubuti ng sanlibutan na sa iyong kadakilaan. Ito'y aming dinadalangin sa ngalan ni Kristo aming Panginoon, kaysa ng Espiritu Santo sa langit. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Sir Adolfo. Okay. So, I share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes po, ma'am.
Okay. So still on subject 3, we've already done 1.1, 1.2, 1.3. This was last night. And then yung iba, we've done about budgeting, ganyan. So for tonight, we will try to do 1.4 and 1.5. Apply important laws governing natural resources and environmental protection with subnational planning. Ito, the keyword here is apply, and here it's assess. 5 items. Okay. So here. So it is a dedicated review addressing those probable questions that may be asked during your upcoming board exam. So, apply important laws. So, pwede na rin apply, assess important laws governing natural resources. Although, I already tackled some environmental laws, ano, binigay ko. But we will go back to that again. So these are key laws and how planners apply them in your CLUP, zoning, CDP, local development plans. Sub-national planning is also referring to regional planning. Okay. But of course, it's most applicable to local planning. We will do both anyway. So this competency test whether the planner can apply the correct environmental or natural resource law to a planning situation. So this will be quite evaluation and then analytical aspect or level sa Bloom's taxonomy. So both at the local and regional level. So the focus is on lawful planning action, land use compatibility, environmental safeguards, and subnational implementation. Okay. So, and so it is an application type of question. So we expect application, no? So hindi lang yung what is 9003, what is 1586. So we expect questions that would deal on applications. So not simply those questions whether the planner can name and laws, or whether the planner can actually use them in planning situations that arise below the national scale. So subnational planning also is important. It refers to planning, subnational planning. It refers to planning that happens below the national government level, and that includes not exclusive to regional planning, but it may also include provincial planning, metropolitan planning, and local land use planning. So we need skills that require better understanding, which is broader than a single, like when we are talking about LGU permit or a small site issue. But this includes how environmental and natural resource laws shape territorial decisions across watersheds, across river basins, protected landscapes, across growth corridors, settlement systems, hazard-prone regions, and inter-LGU spaces, if you know what I mean. So the key point here is that we must all know how national environmental laws are translated into spatial decisions at the subnational scale. So there are key laws, okay? There are key laws here. So let's start with PD 1586. So by today or tonight, you should already be very comfortable saying PD 1586, which means the Philippine Environmental Impact Statement System. Okay, so for short, PEISS, okay? Philippine Environmental Impact Statement System. So in practice, okay, the application of these laws may appear in regional spatial strategy. It also appear on physical framework. Remember PDPFP, okay, at the provincial level, and then metropolitan coordination like MMDA and others. We have watershed management as an approach also to local planning, and then or regional or subnational planning, protected area also, settlement planning, zoning, and inter-LGU development control. So while some examples, so most of our examples may look local, the stronger planning logic here is it's territorial. And a planner is expected to see how an environmental law affects land use compatibility, how it affects ecological protection, hazard management, and development regulation across a broader planning space. So, let me see. We have a number of laws here to tackle. Meron din tayong by today, by tonight, alam natin yung 11.038 for the E-NIPAS, and then 9003, Philippine Clean Air Act, Philippine Clean Water, Clean Air Act. So, importante, memorize niya yung numerical equivalent niya, And then 6969 toxic substances, 9729 as amended by 10174 ang Climate Change Act, or People's Survival Fund, and then the DRRM. Okay, so these are the major or priority laws to apply. Although napakadami pa, no? But for this specific yung 1.4 natin up to 1.5, we would concentrate on those. So, okay. These are, okay, for PD 1586, it's applied, alam naman natin na it is applied when a proposed project. So it starts with a proposal. It's applied when a proposed project may significantly affect environmental quality. So yun lagi yung isipin natin, especially if it's environmentally critical or located in an environmental critical area. So we are talking about ECP and ECA, no? Projects located in environmentally critical areas and then environmentally critical projects. So it could be both. All right. So it's one of the most important laws for us planners because it affects development decisions before project implementation. So before that would even take place or would start its development, that there should be a need to pay attention to this law. Its function is not just the paperwork it's required. Its real function is to ensure that environmentally significant projects are reviewed before they proceed. So in subnational planning, this matters because a project rarely affects only its site. Could be a road or quarry, industrial estate, tourism complex, or major subdivision may affect a river basin, may affect a regional corridor, may affect a coastal system or a settlement cluster or a hazard-prone area that extends across several LGUs. And that's why it's concentrated, or it is emphasizing subnational planning to mean that it's not just a particular LGU, but when you try to analyze or contextualize subnational planning, and there are concepts that should be taken, that should be considered, like I mentioned about river basin, kasi hindi lang isang LGU, so it may involve a number of LGUs, di ba? Or 1.5, parang ganon. Because it could be a regional corridor, not exactly two LGUs na complete, the full scope or the full territory of two LGUs. So, PD 1586 becomes relevant whenever the planner must ask whether the project has been properly screened, whether environmental review is required, and whether the findings should influence land use and development decisions, and a lot of areas, a lot of concerns. So our role is complex in this particular, when we apply this law, it becomes complex because we have to make sure that project siting, zoning, consistency, and development approval are not separated from environmental review. So I will have yung next slide later is about PD 1586 dedicated, pero dadaanan na lang muna natin itong ibang laws. For 11038 expanded NIPAS. So this was in 2018. It is important because this law applies to protected areas. Diba? Na sinabi ko kanina na could be river basin. Okay. It also applies to watersheds, diba? Buffer zones, biodiversity areas. Okay. So, and other ecologically sensitive territories. It's used in land use control, in making sure plants are consistent, and the protection of areas with special ecological significance. So yan, talagay. And so this law is crucial because it establishes that some areas are subject to special protection. Kaya protected areas yun, system. National Integrated Protected Area System. It's crucial because it establishes that some areas are subject to special protection and cannot be treated as ordinary developable land. For us planners, this has strong subnational implications because protected areas often extend across more than one local jurisdiction and require coordination at a broader territorial scale. So I hope you understand that. So in regional or subnational planning, this law affects how settlement expansion, road alignment, tourism projects, agricultural conversion, or resource use are evaluated in relation to protected landscapes, in relation to protected seascapes, like we have in Peña Blanca, Cagayan. So we have their protected landscapes and seascapes. So it's a law also, by virtue of that INIPAS. So biodiversity zones also and watersheds. So the core or the primary planning lesson here is that local or subnational development plans must remain consistent with protected area management limits. So we need to know the context of NIPAS Act of 2018. That's 11038. So planning discretion is not unlimited when ecological protection has already been established by law. So in 9003, it's the most abused, the most misunderstood probably, no, na law. So it is a highly practical law because solid waste management is a continuous planning and governance concern at a personal level, at a per capita level. Lahat naman tayo may basura, di ba? So we need to be very responsible for our personal rubbish, But because we are talking about subnational planning, the issue is not concentrated on daily waste operations. It's spatial. Okay, it is a spatial concern. Question of where waste facilities should be located and how waste systems should serve more than one community. So a sanitary landfill, okay. So it said use for sanitary landfill siting, MRFs, waste diversion, closure of open dumps, and local SWM planning. So, a sanitary landfill, for example, may serve a cluster of LGUs, di ba? Hindi lang, wala sa law yung sinasabi na one sanitary landfill equals one LGU. It could serve a cluster of LGUs and may affect nearby rivers, settlements, agricultural areas, and transport routes. So, a planner must look beyond site availability. So, hindi lang yung saan and it must look beyond site availability and ask whether the site is environmentally suitable or it is legally defensible or if it's compatible with surrounding uses. Otherwise, when you do public consultation to introduce that there's upcoming sanitary landfill, baka batuhin kayo ng kamatis, di ba? When you try to justify why it should be in their barangay. So, this law requires planners to connect waste management planning with territorial planning, land suitability, environmental protection, and inter-LGU coordination if it serves a cluster of LGUs or at least more than one. Then for 9275, the Philippine Clean Water, okay? Clean Water Act of 2004. So, kailan ma-memorize din ninyo yung year at least. So RA 9275 is important in subnational planning because water systems are territorial systems, diba? So rivers, lakes, aquifers, drainage basins, and coastal waters do not follow political boundaries. Hindi, diba? So what happens in one part of a watershed may affect settlements, farms, industries, and ecosystems downstream. This means the planner must think at the scale of the river basin or watershed or coastal system. So if a land use is poorly located, if drainage is ignored, or if wastewater is not properly managed, so the effect may spread beyond a single project area. So this law teaches planners that subnational planning must protect water systems through proper land use controls, through compatible development and environmental safeguards across a border territorial context. So, okay, memorize na ninyo yung number, yung PD number niya or RA. Then, Clean Air Act. So, we can relate to that of 1999. Dapat yung memory work niya is Clean Air Act of 1999. Water Code. Water Act of 2004. So, para hindi kayo, sayang naman yung 1 point pag hindi niyo makuha. Diba? So, 8749. 8749 reminds us that air quality is also spatial planning. Even it's about air, we are still talking about spatial planning. Okay, why so? Because air pollution is shaped not only by technology and regulation, but also by where industrials, transport, and other emission-generating uses are placed. So at the subnational level, this law matters because airsheds often extend across cities, across municipalities and metropolitan areas. So this means that industrial corridors, transport terminals, highway systems, and urban growth patterns may create environmental consequences beyond one jurisdiction. So the planner therefore has to think in terms of exposure, in terms of buffer requirements. Diba? Kapag pinag-usapan Clean Air Act, we cannot miss we cannot miss the concept of buffers or buffer requirements. Also about compatibility and territorial air quality management. So sensitive land uses such as settlements, schools, hospitals, and open space should be protected from polluting uses through proper spatial planning. Then 6969 pertains to toxic substances and hazardous and nuclear waste. Okay? Toxic substances. So, kailangan makompleto ninyo yan. Kasi toxic substances and hazardous waste and nuclear waste Control Act of 1990. So, mas nauna pa siya kaysa sa mga Clean Air Act. RA 6969 becomes important when planning involves uses that carry chemical, toxic, or hazardous waste. So these are not ordinary land uses. Their effects may include contamination of land, water, and air, as well as threats to public health and safety. So, in subnational planning, these facilities often require careful location decisions because their effects may extend beyond the project site. So, a hazardous waste facility, treatment site, or industrial estate may affect nearby communities, utility systems, ecosystems, and transport corridors. So the planner must treat these land uses with heightened caution. So this law strengthens the case for careful siting of stronger zoning controls and territorial risk management. While 9729, so nakakalito din, no? So, as amended by 10174, parang meron pa tayong 7279 is housing, ano? And then nagkaroon 9729 amended by RA 10174. So this law is important because it brings climate change directly into planning. So climate risks such as sea level rise, such as flooding, drought, extreme rainfall, slope instability, and ecosystem stress are not as isolated local concerns. They are subnational and territorial concerns that may affect whole regions and interconnected systems. So for planners, this means land use and development planning must become climate informed. Settlement patterns or infrastructure, when you are locating an infrastructure, and then also within agricultural zones, coastal development, and investment priority must all respond to climate risk. The mention of the People's Survival Fund here also matters because adaptation is not only about policy language, it's it deals with implementation and financing. So in subnational planning, this law requires planners to connect spatial strategy with resilience building and climate responsive programming. Then we have 10121, DRRM Act of 2010, that it's one of the most directly applicable laws in planning because it requires disaster risk reduction and management to be integrated into development processes. So at the sub-national scale, hazards such as flooding, landslides, storm surge, fault movement, and erosion affect entire territories and often cut across multiple LGUs. This means planners must think beyond isolated site review and consider hazard systems, evacuation networks, settlement safety, infrastructure resilience, and critical facility location at a broader territorial scale. So this law works closely with the CCA or Climate Change Act because both laws, they push subnational planning toward resilience, safety, and risk sensitive development. So how then the planner applies the law? Okay, so it's important to note that, okay, I've done here, 1, 2. So, punta muna tayo dito. So, the first step is diagnostic. So, before choosing the law, the planner must understand the nature of the planning issue. Diba? So, you cannot, so which law to apply? Of course, before you can provide citation, you need to identify, so what are you addressing? Diba? What resource ecosystem hazard or project is involved. So before choosing the law, and we need to understand the nature of this. So is the concern a watershed, or so is it a protected landscape? So ganon. Is it a proposed industrial corridor or a landfill or a floodplain settlement or a hazardous waste facility? And this matters, in analyzing, because the correct legal response depends on the actual territorial issue involved. So when a planner misidentifies or wrongly identifies the issue, is likely to apply the wrong law as well. So, or provide an incomplete planning response. So now you understand why it's part of subject 3 in your board exam. Now you understand. Because tatanungin kayo, so paano mo yan i-address? You cannot do that by plainly addressing through common sense or through your narrative. You need to identify, so which law to apply here? Kita mo, parang lawyer na rin si Kwan, di ba? But we are focused on environmental laws. Pero mas maganda pag madami ka pang di ba? So hindi kasi environmental laws lang sa ang daming mga policies pa, lalo na sa housing related laws. Sobrang dami. And I think there are some controversies within, especially in the real estate field these days, because of the laws, because of the absence, or when the law is silent about that. So how would you enforce when the law is silent? So which one should prevail? Of course, superior laws govern or prevail over inferior laws. So what I'm trying to say is, pag may national law at meron ka ding local ordinance, and then mas stringent yung local ordinance mo, that should not happen, and then your ordinance becomes void. Ganon. Okay? So the national law first, or the constitution, and then the national law, and then there's the IRR, and then there's the local ordinance. And so it should really be treated as a system of laws, diba? The hierarchy of laws and policies. So how the planner applies the law? So sinabi ko na kanina na it should be diagnostic. So you have to match, second is you have to match the governing law. Okay? Kapag magawa ninyo ito, and your integrity will be higher than you can imagine, because imagine you can identify the laws that should be applied to a particular situation. So match the governing law, determine which environmental or natural resource law applies. Ima-match mo, aside from issue muna, and then i-match mo yung law. So some situations call for one main law, and others involve several laws working together. And so, for example, protected area road project may involve 11038, okay, the NIPAS, and PD 1586 sa dalawa. So I'll just clean this one. So halimbawa, ito yung kailangan nung issue mo. So or a landfill near a river may involve, syempre, 9003, di ba? Landfill. And 9275. So, yung Clean Water Act. So, yan pa. Or all, di ba? So, alimbawa naman yung issue is hazard-prone settlement expansion. So, i-expand yung hazard-prone settlement may involve 9729 and 10121. So So the key point is that the planner must match the issue with the correct legal basis before suggesting any planning response. So everything should be at your fingertips. So this is not just a training that you're undertaking with me about preparing for the upcoming boards, but also in your practice. Kasi kapag ka nag-take off na kayo, andyan na, and mayroon silang expectation that you know the laws to be applied and you know how to match the laws. And that's why we're talking about how the planner applies the law. And then the step 3 is the check the spatial and environmental implications. So review land suitability, zoning compatibility, suitability zoning compatibility. Pag pinag-uusapan zoning compatibility, pag land naman suitability, hazards, ecosystems, and carrying capacity. So this is where legal reasoning meets, when you are trying to so why should I be using blend, or we need to match also yung legal reasoning mo with technical planning, technical plus legal, okay? That even when the correct law has already been identified, the planner must still examine the spatial implications. So is the land suitable? Is the proposed use compatible? Are there ecological constraints? Are there hazard issues? So is the area already under pressure? So this step is especially important in subnational planning because the implications of development may extend across settlements. It may extend across corridors, watersheds, or ecosystem systems. So the planner must read the law through the land and through the territory. So mahirap and that's why you need to be very strong in analyzing kasi baka yung mga questions natin na instead of just objective or because ABCD lang yun lang yung gagawin ninyong effort. And it's more of an understanding na kaya nire-require kayo ng certificate of experience because those people who will be qualified and those people who will pass are those with already meron na silang stock knowledge, so meron silang theoretical plus ay actual practice. So it's one of the most unique board exams kasi sobrang mataas yung mortality for just selecting who should be qualified to take the exam. Yun pa lang, parang nag-exam na kayo because labanan ito ng ng experience. So, are you qualified? Are you ready to become environmental planner? Because once you pass, then even if you've been practicing, because of your license, then it should require you to be the most prepared person, especially if you're with the LGU na actual lahat yun, So, but when we talk about regional planning naman is subnational, so sa regional. So yung mga DepDev sa regional offices, DSUD, mga ganon. So, sana ba ako naligaw ako doon? So, I think I am in step 4. Okay. Okay, step 4. Translate into planning action. Use zoning controls, overlays, site restrictions, safeguards, or project conditions. So, it is called action stage, action. So, yung translate into planning action. Okay. So, hindi pa yung implementation, but the law and spatial analysis must now be translated into concrete planning measures. That may mean restricting a use, imposing a buffer. So, kayo yung magsasabi na there should be a required buffer and ito yung configuration ng buffer mo, ito yung so ibabangga mo yon sa ano ba yung law on buffer. So what are the requirements? What are the criteria? Ganon. And you just don't say, you have to describe, okay? Both in speech and in written form, ganon sa planner. So that may mean restricting a use, imposing a buffer, requiring a safeguard, applying an overlay, revising the proposed site, or conditioning project approval. So this is also the stage where the feeling ko, no, baka dito yung board exam often places, nag-i-emphasize nila ito sa board exam. So the strongest answer does not stop at naming the law. Yun yung preparation mo should be how you would explain what the planner or planning authority should actually do. Then we have 5. Sana yan ito. Ensure compliance and implementation, links to permits, approvals, local programs, and monitoring. So the final step is implementation because the planning response must not remain conceptual. It mag-move on dapat, di ba? So it has to be linked to actual approval process, permitting, sectoral coordination, and monitoring mechanisms. So in subnational planning, this also includes territorial coordination. Some issues require not only internal compliance within one LGU, but also coordination among multiple jurisdictions, agencies, or sectoral bodies as the case may be. Okay. So, what are the typical planning situations? Kasi di ba yung planning issue kanina, we've been talking about planning issue, how to respond to that. So what are those typical planning situations? Well, this part, we should be able to be very kasi nakalagay dito, for example, a sanitary landfill is proposed near a river or flood-prone area. So ito, di ba? Sinasabi ko. So you must be lucky kasi nagkaroon pa ako ng effort to be doing this kasi ayaw ko na kayang ma-stress. Hindi kagaya noon. But I produced number 1 way back 2000. Yan, 3 times siyang, yun nga, 3 times siyang nag-submit and it was rejected twice on the third one. Kasi real estate kasi yung niya, no? Yung field niya it was a bit challenging when you're someone na hindi nila makita yung planning experience. So you need to be articulating your certificate of experience and injecting some insights na hindi lang naman real estate yung ginawa ko, etc. So what I'm trying to say here is that halimbawa yung mga ganito, no? You're an engineer or you're someone environmental engineer. And then, siyempre, at some point, meron ka rin na-inject na mga laws doon na which you contributed. And you need to be articulating that. Kahit hindi kayo nagbo-board exam, for example, like a diary or whatever, paggagawa kayo ng report ninyo about what you've done so far, para meron kayong i-extract when the time comes when you need it. Or for example, people should be introducing you because you're the guest or you're the speaker or resource speaker. Meron kayong daily na parang diary on the actual work that you've done so that kapag makagawa kayo ng narrative and you can just send that to the person who's introducing you. Kailangan kasi hindi generic yung mga i-introduce nila sa'yo and they need, so your listeners or your participants would be able to know you better, what your strengths are, what you've done so far, what were your legacy, ganon. So maganda rin na i-articulate. Kaya nahihirapan kayo sa certificate of experience kasi puro generic lang yan. So kapag so we needed to make an appeal, ganyan, because you're not ready with what you can tell about yourself, how you've done, ganon. So kailangan you develop the writing skills din na isulat niya lahat yung nangyari sa buhay ninyo. You can do that. You can encode or meron written form, yung sinusulat, ganyan. Like when you have attended, for example, a particular public consultation, ano naman yung mga pinagsasabi mo doon? What were the issues you've raised? and you, or what were the issues na issue ng tao that you've responded to effectively, that you think so, or you thought so, you've responded effectively, and you can always write that in your diary. So, baka kahit yun lang yung matandaan nyo about tonight na ginagawa. Para hindi generic lahat yung sinasabi ninyo. So that when you grow your careers, and you wish to diversify, and you could be someone you feel happy about what you, how, because yun ay chronology, yun yung ano mo narration mo about you as a someone na ginawa mo. Kaya kahit yung mga kataruhang pambarangay lupong taga-pamayapa, ganyan, tinatanong din yun sa board I remember when I took the board way back, natanong yung after it has not been conciliated by the Lupon chairman, so which group should be formed, di ba? So I answered pangkat ng tagapagkasundo. So that's a Tagalog term na tongue twister, so it's long, but deep in my heart alam ko paano sagutin, because when I was with the ILG, programa ko yun I trained many barangay captains all over the region and others na may workshop pa yan when it was ngayon DOJ na, pero noon DILG kasi during my time. So I did not expect na lalabas yun, pero napakinabangan ko, and that's why I'm very confident to talk about anything under the sun, kasi because of my DILG experience that I've been through, kahit yung laws on yung about children's act, yung mga alam kong mga yan, kahit mga nutrition, ganyan. So you need to be well-rounded when you take the board exam for environmental planner. So don't complain kasi gusto niyong gawin. So don't complain kapag madaming nababanggit. Pero I cannot wala akong formula na yung kaya yung lalabas, like someone asked, yung lalabas? Is it 9184 or 1200? But an indicator na master ninyo is hindi kayo nabubulol sa isang tongue twister. Like I mentioned about lupong taga-pamayapa, kaya ba ninyo pangkatang tagapagkasundo? So it's something na tongue twister din siya in itself. Pero nagawa ako, natanong pa nga noon, ano yung real name ni Pope John Paul II during that time. Kalimutan ko, was that the exam or any other exam? Like you need to be and I can say Carl Wojtyla. So it's something na I can always trust my stock knowledge, kasi para kahit anong tanungin, kahit Chinese pa yan na event or 1600 o 900 BC or something, or AD man yan, kaya mo pa din patagpi-tagpi. But it's not perfect over the years, pero kapag when you are passionate about something else na malapit talaga sa puso mo yan, na you know what you're talking about, so medyo nagaan yung Kaya someone here also asked Jen na, okay, baka pwede i-compile yung we will not compile, sobra naman kami pa mag-compile nung mga habang ginagawa ko yon, iniisip ko din yun, I correct the spelling, kung minsan kung hindi ko na ma-correct, di kayo na yung bahala, alangan na sabihin nyo sa akin, coach, mo pa, may mali ka na spelling, di kayo na yun bahala, hindi yung ipagawa nyo lahat, di ba? And then please when live review is ongoing, don't be calling Jen kasi nagre-record siya. It will disrupt the recording. So use your head, have common sense. Yung makiramdam ka naman, So we're not playing here. So we expect na kapag mataas yung level ng pinag-uusapan and all these things na tinuturo namin sa'yo, we are serious. because we want to, masakit kaya na masakit na hindi kayo makapasa para sa amin. Eh di lalo na sa inyo. Kasi nakasalang na kayo for promotion, etc. And you tell me, ma'am, because it's already, that position was already reserved for me. Eh di ganun, di gawin mo, pag sabihin mo, and you complain to Jen, na sabihin niyo na wala nga ako time mag-review. Eh di bahala ka sa buhay mo. Wala ka palang time, bakit ka mag-exam? This is one of the most difficult exams, di ba? Nakakapikon lang talaga. So, this is recorded pero I really need to say this, isa pa ha, o I'll call you. Okay? Kasi lahat tayo, we mean business here. We're all serious. Pinag-iisipan lahat mga sinasabi dito. And don't be, parang lalaro-laruin lang ninyo yung review. At saka, kung 5 times na binigay ni Jen yung link for the recording, i-preserve ninyo and try to open. Don't ask for lahat ibibigay sa inyo. Hindi huwag kayong mag-toxic. Okay, so here, typical planning situations here, this is the part where it's especially useful because it translates the laws into real planning scenarios. So just imagine, it shows how a planner should think when confronted with actual land use and environmental problems. Or so as we go through here, for example na to, you notice that each one requires not only legal knowledge, but also spatial judgment and territorial awareness. Like sanitary landfill, So alam niyo ba, pagtanungin kayo, and then we want to get you as a consultant for this. So this example, sanitary landfill, it combines waste management law and water protection law. Because a landfill is not evaluated only as a utility project, it must also be assessed in relation to flood risk, to contamination potential, to river protection and territorial environmental effects. So at the subnational scale, the concern is even larger because a landfill may serve multiple LGUs and its environmental consequences may travel downstream. So the planner must examine the site not only for convenience or land availability, but for hydrological safety, for territorial compatibility and environmental sustainability. Now, for situation to a resort or road project is proposed within or near a protected landscape. Kasi pag ganito yung itatanong sa inyo, na magbigay sila ng planning situation, and which laws would you apply? Parang ganon. So, iisipin mo yon, di ba? Hulaan nyo. Hindi you need to think critically. Kailangan may alam kayo sa laws, kaya that's why we are doing this tonight. And napakadaming doon sa hindi kayo maubusan. Kulang yung 1 year para mapakinggan nyo lahat yung nasa Zoom. If you can only leverage those, napakadami na noon. It would make you number 1, actually. Noon nga, 5 days lang, up to 8 days lang. It will make you number 1. Kung didibdibin. You don't even need to read from other materials. Now, kasi nandun na, and we are doing this also. Sobra-sobra na yon. I-cover ko na lahat yung kung ano yung alam ko. Nagpe-predict rin ako ng mga questions. Aside from the recalls means yung past questions na hindi man, even if it's not accurate, pero at least alam ko na, okay, ito yung scenario and then ito yung answer, or kahit yung answer lang, and makakabuo ka na ng question doon. So, it doesn't need to be very exact naman, di ba? Para meron din kayong room for independence na mag-isip or Kapag ka may mali, di isipin nyo na lang na okay, this is wrong. O kahit hindi ko na i-correct yun, alam niyo na mali yung answer, and it's a learning din na ganito pala yon. So, meron predictable pero mostly sa board exam, parang hindi, rare na predictable yon yung questions. Pero kapag ka nagiging, it depends eh. It becomes predictable pag nadaanan nyo, naaral ninyo. Did you get it? Kapag ka hindi siya predictable, ibig sabihin hindi nyo siya nadaanan. We became ignorant about it kasi hindi nyo naaral. You always rely sa ibang tao or ano na kailangan tanungin mo lahat. O di ano, pag sabihin niyo, pag mag-remark kayo na kasi wala akong time. Di bahala ka kung wala kang time eh. Huwag ka nang mag-exam pag wala kang time, mag-review. Okay, so number 2, this example shows a resort or road project is proposed within or near a protected landscape. So it shows the relationship between protected area law and environmental review because a project in or near a protected landscapes is not evaluated in the same way as a project in an ordinary development zone. Did you get that? So the planner must consider ecological sensitivity. It must also consider yung territorial function, protected area management laws, or rules or policies, and the need for environmental review. So a road or resort in this setting may affect biodiversity, may affect water systems, tourism carrying capacity, and landscape integrity across a wider area. So this is a clear example of how environmental law constrains development in order to or constrains development in order to protect ecologically important territory. So 3, ano pa yung isang bibigay na ako ng mga pwedeng maibigay sa board. So industrial zone is planned near settlements and water bodies. So this scenario is a good example of integrated planning analysis. Industrial development may create air pollution, water pollution, and hazardous waste concerns all at the same time. So at the subnational level, an industrial zone may be part of a broader growth corridor or regional economic strategy. So, but economic development does not remove the need for environmental safeguards, diba? So the planner must ask whether the industrial use is compatible with nearby settlements, whether water bodies are protected, and whether hazardous substances can be managed safely. So this is exactly the kind of question siguro where the best answer combines economic planning, land use, compatibility, and environmental law. Then 4th, I gave also an example here. A settlement expansion is proposed in a flood or landslide prone area. And so we apply 9729 and 10121. And this is making use of risk-sensitive land use planning. Also relocation guidance kasi settlement, no? And climate resilient development controls. So this example highlights the link between climate change and disaster risk reduction in planning, that a settlement expansion in a hazard-prone area is not merely a housing or land supply issue. It is a risk issue and a territorial resilience issue. So the planner must assess whether the area should be developed at all, whether settlement should be restricted or redirected, and whether relocation or no-build controls are necessary. So at the subnational scale, these may also involve coordination with broader hazard maps, di ba? Anong ibig kong sabihin doon na hindi lang yung LGU na hazard maps, but you have to look into the regional, hazard maps or watershed planning. DNR is actually doing this. Yung pwede kayong mag-consult sa kanila on their, tingnan niyo sa website nila ano yung mga watershed plans na meron sila. So I know in Misamis Oriental, so may watershed doon, so it covers Claveria and other municipalities doon. So it's a watershed planning that they have been doing there. Hindi ko lang alam kung merong grant doon or sino yung nag-provide ng intervention to prepare or to attend or to formulate the watershed plan. Ano pa ba? So, meron din yung mga evacuation systems also, kaya importante din yan, ano? And regional resilience strategy. So, okay. So, medyo matagal ngayon tayo because we need to do EIA. Anyway, you can also check the previous lectures on EIA kasi nag-provide din ako ng EIA doon. EIA lecture. Jen, isend mo ulit. Pag meron pang magtanong ulit, grabe naman na, di ba? So, 1586, PD 1586 issued on June 11. There's an important law. Okay, yung PACE ko na, PEISS, okay? So, I already mentioned about this. So this is the complete infographic on the law itself. So you can look into, so what PD 1586 does, so ito siya, establishes the EIA system. It screens also environmentally critical. Remember the ECP na sinabi ko, na ECP. So requires environmental review. Ito binabanggit ko kanina, environmental review, meaning that it requires environmental impact assessment and review before approval or implementation, and leads to ECC decisions. So the ECC would be issued if you've met all, because it's not a permit anyway, and it's a prediction, or when you are projecting the impacts, So the project may proceed only after compliance with the EIS process and issuance of an ECC when required. Okay? So, meron tayong key terms dito na sigurado ako kapag magbigay sila ng EIA questions, you need to understand the difference between EIS, EIA, ECC, ECP, ECA. Planning relevance. Okay. Okay, so for the law, in fact, iba-iba yung ko dito eh. Pag planners ang kausap ko, ito. Pag lawyers naman, ito. Ito yung concentration, so, for where planners applied, okay, tingnan natin itong okay. Industrial estate near rivers, tourism, so parang ganun din, so you can look into this one. Okay, hang on. Inom lang ako. So yung key terms, are you already familiar? Kasi yung EIS, di ba? Usually required for projects with, alam niyo na yung ECA, yung CP. Kasi sa subnational planning, EIS can guide land use and territorial decisions. So pareho lang din, it may show that the project affects a watershed, yun, paulit-ulit ko na sinasabi, settlement area or biodiversity corridor. Because yung mga biodiversity corridor, ganyan, mga it's usually at a regional level planning, when DNR is doing that. I mentioned about DNR, I mentioned about NEDA, now DepDev. So So EIA, you know what's ECC. Kaya lang yung ECP, parang meron din akong ano, no? You just check the Zoom recording kasi meron dedicated doon na I explained about the ECP, ganyan, that, you know, ECP, pag sinabing ECP, ECP is covered by this law because of the nature of the project. The project itself may carry significant environmental impacts, di ba? Pinapredict natin yung impacts. So while an ECA is covered because the location is environmentally sensitive. Okay? So yun. So pareho ba yun? Environmental sensitive versus ECA? Yeah, because to describe environmentally critical area, meaning the location is environmentally sensitive, so the area may be protected, the area may be hazard prone or ecologically important, so or otherwise environmentally critical. And it's very simple because always examine both the nature of the project and the character of the site. Okay, kaya ECP ECA. And could be both na environmentally critical project nilagay mo pa sa ECA. Di doble-doble yung justification mo, di ba? And most likely, I'm not sure how DNR, dapat, hindi ko pa na-study kung ano yung pattern, ano, how DNR had evaluated all these projects in ECA. So always examine, if you become a reviewer, in the future, always examine both the nature of the project and the character of the sites that I mentioned earlier. So a planner who looks only at the project type may miss the sensitivity of the territory. So a planner who looks only at the site naman may miss the intensity of the proposed activity. Ganon. So yung, asan yung 2, 1, 4, 6. Ay, sorry. Meron akong tinitignan ko siya makita dito sa aking sorry. It's so small eh. Ito. Okay. Proclamation number 2146. It says identify certain environmentally critical projects and environmental critical areas within the scope of the system. So this explains how coverage is operationalized. Okay. That PD 1586 establishes the system, while proclamation number 2146 identifies certain ECPs and ECAs covered by the system. And for planners, this means that screening must be part of project assessment before endorsing, approving, or integrating a project into a subnational plan. The planner must ask whether the project is covered by the EIS system and whether environmental review is required. So, and this is particularly important for regional or territorial planning because a project may affect more than one LGU, or a project may have a shared resource or an environmentally sensitive system. So, okay. Ano naman yung review land use capability? So, I think I'm okay here. Yung pala, where is step 4? Okay, itong planning, ano? So, check the project and site, determine ECE, ECP or ECA, review land use compatibility. So, ito, okay. Let me just talk about a little bit about this one. Integrate environmental safeguards. So, ano yung tool dito? Siting controls, buffers, mitigation, and conditions in planning and approvals. Okay. So, this is the point where environmental review becomes planning action. EIA findings must be translated into controls and safeguards. So these may include all this that I've written there, the buffer zone, setbacks, ganon, drainage requirements, slope protection. So ito kasi medyo general to. But slope protection is one of them, wastewater treatment, air pollution controls. So mahirap din maging reviewer, no? So reviewer, I mean, from at the level of EMB, kapag ka nire-review nila yung yung submitted EIS. And then restricted development intensity, monitoring requirements, or even relocation of the proposed site. So the key here is that the findings must shape the decision. If the EIA identifies risks, but the planning decision ignores those risks, so the review becomes ineffective. Then links to permit and implementation. Implementation is where the system is tested. So the ECC conditions, di ba may ECC in issue and then there are conditions. So it must be connected to actual permits, approvals, programs, monitoring, and enforcement. So at the subnational level, this may require coordination among regional offices, provincial governments, LGUs, DNR, EMB, planning offices, zoning administrators, engineering offices, environmental offices, and sector agencies. So this step is especially important when the project affects shared resources or crosses administrative boundaries. So hindi ko na ito gagawin itong where planners apply. So I think it's basahin yun unang is self-explanatory. Then yung large subdivision nga, feeling ko mabibigay ito. So if it entails large subdivision or development in hazard-prone or sensitive area, this example is very important because subdivisions and large developments create long-term settlement patterns. So if they are planned in flood-prone or in landslide-prone or coastal or ecologically sensitive areas, the risk may remain for generations, many generations. So the planner must examine whether the site is suitable, whether the design is safe, whether mitigation is adequate, and whether development should be limited or redirected. In subnational planning, this also affects settlement policy, housing distribution, infra investment, and disaster risk reduction. So why it matters? So why are we even talking about this one? It's because nakasali sa di ba? Nakasali sa table of specifications sa TOS, kaya pinag-usapan natin ngayon, and I need to tell you why it matters in subnational planning. Bakit kaya nilagay nila subnational planning at hindi local planning? Or because PD 1586, because I'm talking about PD 1586, it helps planners prevent environmentally unsuitable project siting, and then supports legally defensible zoning, permitting and development decisions, connects environmental review with CLUP, zoning, CDP, and local approvals, but not limited to, promotes mitigation, risk reduction, and sustainable project implementation. So this section, this now explains why PD 1586 is a planning tool. But not a permit. Yung ECC, it's not a permit, but this one is a planning tool in itself. Environmental review produces information that should guide planning judgment. So at the subnational scale, this is even more important because development effects may extend across territorial systems. So a project may affect a watershed, di ba? Paulit-ulit ko sinasabi yon. It may affect a coastal zone, a regional corridor, and airshed. Airshed is not just LGU1, ganon, hindi. So it extends beyond the particular jurisdiction, one jurisdiction, or a protected landscape or seascape. So environmental review helps planners see those wider effects. It also strengthens legal defensibility. So if a planning decision is based on environmental review or site suitability risk analysis, blah, 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 it becomes more credible and more defensible. So, okay, tandaan natin lahat yan. And then, ito, 11 na. This is the last slide actually. Yung, medyo ano to medyo mahirap siyang i-explain. But this is for tomorrow na lang kasi baka 2 hours to So Jen, yeah, I'll end here so that they can study. I'll send now I'll send this one so they can study ahead of time. I'll send it to you, send it to them, send it to GC. So I'll stop screen sharing. Okay.